Hi and welcome to another video by Jim the Car Guy. Today we have a 2012, it's a Hyundai Santa Fe with a 3.5 liter engine. We're going to be changing the oil and the filter. By now I'm sure you know that the filter itself is not a standard filter, it's actually what they call a canister filter, which looks just like this here. And it comes with a new O-ring for around the plastic cover, which goes over the top of this. And it also comes with the new drain plug a washer here also. So we are going to change that washer on the drain plug too. So make sure you have a pair of gloves. You don't want to have any oil in your hands. Oil's never good for your skin. First thing we're going to do is we're going to drain the oil out of the vehicle, and after it finishes draining we'll put the plug back in and we'll come up and we'll take care of this filter, which is up on the top of the engine. It's fairly simple. You're not sure how many quarts of oil goes in the vehicle. You can look in your owner's manual. I know I looked on my computer and this actually calls for 5.49 quarts of oil. So what we're going to do is we're going to put in approximately 4.5 quarts. And then we're going to start the vehicle up and make sure that the oil level is up to the full mark. You always want to have it as close to the full mark as possible. You don't really want to go over that much, but you want to have it as close to the mark as possible. Make sure you use the correct motor oil. This particular vehicle calls for a 520. It's a synthetic blend oil. Make sure you use that. You don't want to use anything but what's recommended by the manufacturer. So, all right, enough talking. Let's lift this vehicle up and let's get started. Okay, now that we're underneath the vehicle, what we're going to do is we're going to take out this plug right here. This is actually the oil drain plug. It's a 17 millimeter, just so you know. So you want to break that loose. We're going to go counterclockwise. Counterclockwise to remove it, clockwise to put it back on. So what we're going to do is just raise our bucket up, and then we'll drain the oil into the bucket. Okay, so we'll just let that oil drain out all the way, and in the meantime we'll grab that new washer and put that new washer on the oil drain plug itself. You can see that washer's a little crushed, so we're going to replace that washer. Okay, now you remember that the new one came, the filter came with the new washer. And the way you take it off is just get in here with the screwdriver underneath it like this, and you pry it off. Sometimes they're a pain to get off. Other times they just pop right off. This one is going to be a little bit of an issue. And then once you have it pried up a little bit, you can get in here with a bigger screwdriver and just keep on working it around. And you'll see it'll start to come off. Sometimes they're a pain in the rear end to get them off. And then you can just turn it. And you're pretty much unscrewing it from the washer. Alright, the new washer just goes over the top just like that. And then, of course, that is trash. All right, so we'll let that drain out a little bit more. And once it finishes draining, we'll put the plug back in. Always screw the the drain plug back in by hand. And then once you have it screwed down all the way, then you can tighten it up with your ratchet. You're just going to snug it in. You're not going to go too tight because you don't want to strip out the oil pan. And then, of course, wipe off any oily residue. And that's it. All right, next thing we're going to do now we're going to lower the car down and we're going to take that filter off on the top. Okay, now that we're underneath the hood of the vehicle, this is where your oil filter is located, right here. You see this little plastic cover right here? Your filter is actually down underneath that cover. So we need a socket to open this up. They actually sell a kit like this with all the different sizes that need to open it up. It's probably going to be either a 24 or a 27 millimeter. Let's see. It's a 27 millimeter. So we're going to take that off now. Right, it's very simple to take out. Remember, it's counterclockwise to remove it, clockwise to reinstall it. Let me get a bucket so we can put that oil into it. Okay, you want to have a bucket handy because it may wind, when you take it out, it may wind up leaking just a little bit. So we'll just lift it up like this, and then we'll bring it right over to the bucket. Always make sure you have your rags handy, of course. And then you just take this over here. You just take that filter and you pull it right out like that. And the O-ring that we're going to change is actually this O-ring right here. You can hook it with the scribe like this and you can remove it. If you don't have a scribe, then obviously you can just use a screwdriver as well. Always make sure you use your new gasket. Never reuse the old O-ring. Always change it. We'll clean it off a little bit so it's nice and clean. And then we'll put our new O-ring back in that groove where it was removed from. Right? Now we're going to get a little bit of motor oil, and we'll put a little bit of motor oil on here. And then we take our filter. And you see this little piece right here down inside the engine here. I'll bring you over, I'll show you. Down inside the engine right here, you want to make sure that this piece fits into that hole right down there. Alright, so now it's in the hole. We put a little bead of oil around here, and now we just screw this down. Screw it down by hand as far as you can, and then once you got it screwed down by hand, then you can tighten it down with your ratchet. Remember, you're only tightening it to plastic, so you don't want to over tighten it and break anything. Alright, that's it. You don't have to go real tight, just snug it down and then clean up any kind of mess you made in here. Get our tools out of here. And now, what I want to show you is here. You always want to make sure you use the right motor oil that belongs in the vehicle. This, as you can see, it calls for a 520 motor oil, so make sure you use that. 520 is actually a synthetic blend, so we're going to use that oil. Now, if you're not sure exactly how much goes in, check your owner's manual. I know it takes 5.49 because I looked it up on the computer. Alright, so you always want to make sure you're using the correct motor oil. It'll tell you on the container itself what the correct weight is. Say 520, and it's a synthetic blend. So, all right, let's put the oil in and we're going to continue. After you have your motor oil in there, you put your cap back on. We're going to start the vehicle up and let it run for a couple of seconds. Okay, and once you've had it running for a couple of seconds, you pull your dipstick out, you wipe your dipstick down, and you'll be able to tell right here, that's the low mark and that's the full mark right there. So you want to make sure it's as close to the full mark as you can get it. And there we go. There it's up to the full mark right now. So now we're good. So always make sure that the level is correct before you take the vehicle out. Make sure your cap is screwed on all the way. And of course, any mess that you made, you want to clean it up. And last but not least, you want to always make sure that there's no leaks anywhere. Always look to make sure that there's no leaks, that everything is nice and dry. And as you can see, this is bone dry. There's nothing leaking down there. All right, we're going to take a peek underneath to make sure that that's okay, but that's pretty much it. All right, so make sure you have no leaks, and that's it, you're out the door. All right, as always, thanks for watching. Any questions or comments, send me an email. I'll be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything. As always, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.